As Gabor Maté would say, trauma is not what happens to us, but what happens inside us because we have no one to share it with. I was born with a silence caught in my throat, an invisible inheritance that didn't come in a will, but in the air I breathed. The tears weren't mine, yet I felt them rolling, warm and salty, an underground river of pain flowing through veins that didn't belong to me. My ancestors left me no tales of glory, but a collection of frozen memories, echoes of fears never named, of losses never mourned. I learned that life was a minefield of unspoken sighs, of truths trapped deep within the flesh. My profession, even before I had a name, was to carry the weight of what wasn't mine, an invisible loyalty to a suffering that preceded me. The mirror reflecting my face today shows not just me, but the shadows of those who came before, their fears whispering in every line of expression. It's a dark room where the air is heavy with what was never said, with what was locked away under 7 keys to protect those who would come. But protection was a prison, the absence of what remained unresolved echoes through generations. I carry a burden that isn't mine, a nameless guilt that seeps through my fingerprints. There's no signed paper, no oath taken, but it's an invisible contract, forged in the blood of what was left behind. Every mistake I make, every stumble, seems to echo an ancient failing that isn't mine. The inner voice whispers, "You're not good enough to break the cycle." It's the invisible loyalty to the suffering of others that binds me, the need to repair what couldn't be, to pay a debt I never incurred. I've turned penitence into a habit, self-sabotage into a daily ritual, because if I'm too happy, too light, I'll be betraying the pain of those who came before me. As if my joy would lessen the weight they carried, the mirror shows me a puppet, its strings pulled by ghosts, and I dance so their pain isn't in vain. Inherited guilt is the shadow of a never-ending debt. There's an unspoken pact, a silent agreement that certain pains will never be voiced. I flinch when someone raises their tone because a loud voice was always the herald of silent destruction. I learned that needing was dangerous, a vulnerability, a crack through which weakness could seep out and be used against me. It's an inner voice whispering, "Don't reveal, don't expose, keep the wall high." This invisible loyalty isn't a shield, it's a prison. Every unspoken word is another brick in this cell built to protect me from what already happened to others. The sound of the stopped clock on the wall is childhood's frozen time, where questions died before they were formed. And the adults, they danced around the truth, creating a ballet of evasions, forced smiles, and everything is fine. But it wasn't. And I absorbed the unspoken, the silent trauma, like a sponge. Today, communication is a minefield, because the pattern I inherited tells me to be quiet, to preserve the facade, not to unbalance the fragile house of cards we call family. Inherited silence is a deafening echo of what was never healed. There's a strange comfort in erasure, a refuge in non-being, an addiction to invisibility. It's not about vanishing literally, but about diluting one's essence, taking up the least possible space. Every time I silence myself, every time I annul myself, it's like a dose that calms the chaos of existence. The inner voice repeats, "Don't stand out, don't bother, be an echo, not a sound." This compulsion to be small pulls me away from myself, transforms me into a diffuse shadow. It's an automatic mechanism, a programmed dance to avoid being seen, to deflect attention. Identity dissolves, blending into the landscape, becoming part of the background. There's no substance to the pain, just the ghostly lightness of what one doesn't allow oneself to feel, as if the very air were my addiction, the ability not to weigh, not to mark, not to fully exist. And in the end, only the image of a ghost, walking among the living remains, perpetuating the trauma of a presence never truly felt. To be invisible is the most dangerous of freedoms. Block 5. The Garden of Collective Shadows. There's a secret garden within us where the shadows of past generations planted their seeds. These aren't memories I lived, but feelings that germinated in the fertile soil of my body, of my being. The unwept anxieties of grandparents, The silenced fears of parents all bloom within me like weeds. I feel a dissociated archetype pulsating, an ancestral figure in fury or in grief, acting through my own gestures. It's as if there's an ancient choreography, and I, unknowingly, dance the steps of those long gone. The anxiety that consumes me isn't just mine, but the echo of insecurity that fed an entire lineage. The search for control, the need to predict every step is the legacy of uncertain times I never lived through. This dark psychology of inheritance, of the collective shadow, shows us we are not islands. We are ports for shipwrecked vessels, museums for forgotten pains, archives of suffering that refuse to die, and each time the pain emerges, it's not just a sign of my present, but a call from the past, a silent invitation to look at what was swept under the rug. The collective shadow whispers the truths family history tried to erase. There is a quest, a silent yearning for the original melody of my own being, a desire to shed the layers of invisible loyalty, to break the contract with inherited guilt, to dissolve the addiction to invisibility. It's the journey to find the authentic self, that part which fragmented under the weight of what went unresolved by past generations. The child I once was, hidden beneath the bed of memory, now tries to rise wobbly towards the light. But the light hurts, the inner voice struggles, a dissonance between what I was programmed to be and what I long to express. The facade I created, this almost perfect persona, threatens to suffocate the fragile whisper of my own truth. It's not a cry of revolution, but a ballet of internal ruptures, a slow and painful detachment from the chains that bound me to the past. Every step toward myself is an act of betrayal to the old pain, a challenge to the contracted silence. I don't know where this quest will end, or if I will ever fully find myself. But denial is no longer an option. The echo of my own voice, however faint, is the only guide left in this labyrinth of shadows. The lost voice is the only key to the cell of invisible inheritance,